piece of our morning, except that we will be having lunch after we adjourn, and we will do a formal adjournment. After we adjourn, we will have lunch, and it'll be, so I hope that people will stay and use the networking opportunity to eat before you get on the road to head back. So for our final piece this morning, we thought it would be really useful and fun to hear from Jerry Newfarmer and Mike Oliver about some of their perspectives on what's going on in our world, our big world and our little library world, both, and an opportunity. So we have some questions which they can play with. They don't have to even answer them because, you know, I'm the outgoing president, I can't make them. But we also hope to have a little bit of time for some questions from you too, for things that are on your minds that we might not cover. And we're just going to do a little interview format and play around with it. I wanted to give you a little background. Jerry Newfarmer is the CEO and president of Management Partners, a company that he formed after years of being a public manager. Many years ago, even before my time, he was the city manager in San Jose. So I only know of him in that regard by his reputation. I won't even divulge it. But Jerry has done a lot of consulting all across the country, and I know that he and his team are looking at many of these issues, not only as, not specifically even, as how they affect libraries, but how they're affecting all kinds of units of local government. I think many of us saw Jerry speak at the State Library Sustainability Conference a couple months ago, and many people told me later they thought that was one of the highlights of the conference, and we thought that's kind of a follow-up to follow on some of the comments that he made, that we could kind of get into a little more depth with him. Mike Oliver is also a former city manager and a longtime public manager with a very varied career. And he too is working with a consulting company, Municipal Resource Group, which incidentally is the group that Anne-Marie Gold is working with. And as you recall, Anne-Marie is the one who helped us with our new participation fee model. Currently, Mike is also has an assignment as the interim library director for the city of Richmond. So I personally, he told me when we talked on the phone that he's learned a lot, and I'm really eager to hear about what he's learned and maybe what surprised him among what he's learned. So with that, I think we'll get started. If you guys will sit down. We have 2 microphones to pass around, which we've agreed will help us have no more than 2 of us speak at one moment.
I know.
Yeah, somebody said, aren't these guys competitors? I said, well, you know, I'm sure they're friendly competitors. So Jerry, you get them first.
Hello, Jane.
Hi, and thank you so much for coming today. And remind, I still have that Public Library Association magazine with me to give you. So, Jerry mentioned at the Sustainability Conference, specifically, they talk about how these are very challenging times, but he thinks these are times of great opportunity. But given the time limitation for that particular event, he wasn't really able, I don't think, to elaborate on the specific kinds of opportunities that he sees for local government and maybe specifically the libraries. So we're all ears.
Well, thank you. Jane's leadership includes arm twisting, as many of you who have worked with her know, and so it's a pleasure to have been arm twisted to join you today, and to you know, talk a little bit about some of these kinds of issues. As I said in my remarks at the conference a couple of months ago, these are awful times in terms of the economy that we're struggling with. The public sector is a lagging sector of the overall economy. So you hear the good news about how we've turned the corner and, you know, the number of jobs is beginning to pick up and things are getting a little bit better now. Meanwhile, back at City Hall, they're cutting the daylights out of your budget, and we're still seeing revenues decline in some cases. That's because we're a lagging sector, and it makes it a difficult time. So this is the season of our discontent, if you will, as a group in public service, and it's forcing local government leaders of all types including librarians, to adapt to a new reality. And this is the most severe thing that I've ever seen in 40 years, or that I expect to see in my professional lifetime. But you know, it is said that within every crisis there's an opportunity, and the optimistic ones among us are trying to take advantage of the opportunities to say, how can we adapt, how can we take advantage of this awful thing we have to deal with, because that's what's going on. And in my comments at the conference, in thinking about the library profession and the opportunities that you have, the one big idea that occurred to me is that in a real sense, one of the constraints, the conjunction at the same time, happening at the same time of budgets being crashing through the floor, with at the same time the revolution in information storage, information access, information retrieval that we're experiencing. Witness Brewster's comments to you this morning and what's happening with ebooks. That's a really interesting conjunction, because if you think about library systems, they're physically oriented. All the politicians love the libraries in their neighborhoods. We struggle with having, over the years, we've added branches and facilities. Now what's happening, because of the ebook revolution, is the need for those facilities for the core mission that was the mission of the library business is crashing through the floor. You don't need them anymore, or I'm jumping way ahead. That's the revolution. So what do you do with that? And it seems to me that transition occurring at the same time that everybody in local government is forced to think of new ways of doing business suggests a whole new role for the library system in leading local government interactions. Your facilities are facilities that almost every library that I know of, in addition to being a facility of the mind, if you will, that deals in ideas and books and magazines and internet that we use to access ideas, are also facilities that are community facilities, like this room, and where neighborhood groups use and participate in their libraries. If libraries transition and become the central focal point in communities for the entirety of the government, that's a different way of looking at things. I know of a number of jurisdictions that are looking at putting together community centers and libraries into the same managed enterprise. That offers opportunities. I was in a meeting earlier this week with a county government. County governments all of our governments are different one from the other, but in this particular county government, the staff, which has seen the elimination of 700 positions out of about 2,500 already, and is facing the prospect of cutting out another $62 million in their general fund budget in the next 2 years, more of the same, is looking for ways to do things differently. And they had actually 6 departments of the county government, which they call the outside departments. These are the departments of the government that serve the unincorporated area of the county, the outsiders. They have a name for themselves. But these folks have been working, these department heads have been working together with one of the deputy county managers to figure out how to reorganize all of their departments into a whole new outside department that would realign all the functions and activities. I've never seen that done inside of a local government voluntarily by the people whose jobs are affected, because those 6 department heads' positions are going to change radically. Their entities will not be the same coming out of that change as they were before. And so to have people who saw that reality and are committed enough to do something about it and try and figure out, well, as a consulting firm, we're asked to do that all the time. But usually that's because the politicians or the city manager or county manager say, my God, we're desperate, we've got to do something, we need some outside leadership. To see it come up from inside is what I thought extraordinary. Well, that's the kind of time that we're in, the kind of reality that we're in, and that's the sort of opportunity that comes. I think I'm going to shut up for now because I could go on forever. You don't want me to do that. Let's give Mike some airtime.